Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we've got a really fascinating story for you. It's this amazing mix of ancient history, a little bit of tropical botany, and a pure economic mystery.
It really is. And the sources for this are just fantastic. They come from the notes of this really dedicated gardener who just stumbled upon something that, well, it raises a lot of questions.
A lot of questions, right. The first thing they noticed wasn't even about the plant itself, but just how it was behaving. It seemed to be breaking the rules.
Yeah, the basic rules of, which way a plant is supposed to grow.
Exactly. They saw this plant, and it wasn't growing up towards the sun. It was actively growing out of the bottom drainage holes of its pot, just, cascading downwards.
It's a pretty striking image. An inverted elegance, almost. But then came the second shock.
The price tag.
The price tag. The notes mention a really staggering premium.
Yeah.
160 Malaysian ringgit per pot.
Wow. Okay, so for anyone not familiar with the currency, that is a serious price for a houseplant.
Oh, absolutely. That puts it squarely in the sought-after collector's specimen category. It's not a casual purchase.
Okay, let's unpack this. The gardener eventually identified it as the Hanging Clubmoss, or Phlegmariurus phlegmaria. So our mission today is to connect those dots. Why does it grow upside down, and what on earth makes it command that kind of price?
Well, the amazing thing is that the two are completely linked. The way it looks, why it costs so much, and its deep, deep roots in plant history, it's all one story.
So let's start with that visual, because it really is strange. The notes describe these long, kind of pendulous stems.
And they're covered in this super dense carpet of tiny needle-like leaves.
Right, so it creates this heavy flowing green curtain effect. It doesn't look like a modern plant at all.
And that's the first big clue. That cascade, that sort of willingness to hang down, tells you you're dealing with something profoundly old. This isn't just an old plant. Botanists call it a living fossil.
A living fossil. That's such a powerful term. But what does that actually mean when we're talking about a plant? Are we talking, a few 100,000 years old?
We need to pull back way, way further than that. This club moss is in the class Lycopodiopsida.
Right.
And this lineage is one of the oldest groups of vascular life on Earth. I mean, they have the internal plumbing to move water around.
So we're talking about a design that existed before most of what we think of as a modern forest even existed.
Precisely. To put it into context, the ancestors of this little plant, they were dominant during the Carboniferous period. They formed these vast forests of giant tree-sized versions of themselves.
The ones that turned into coal.
The very ones, the lycophytes. They eventually became a huge portion of the coal we use today.
That's incredible. So this little pot, the one that costs 160 ringgit, it basically contains the DNA of the plants that built the Earth's fossil fuel reserves.
Absolutely. They were thriving before a single flowering plant. No roses, no daisies, no oak trees had even begun to evolve. So when you see that plant coming out of the bottom of the pot, you're looking at a life form that has survived everything. Mass extinctions, climate shifts, you name it.
And it's just stuck with its original design.
It has, which is the perfect bridge to that second shock factor, the price.
The price, right. Because that ancient, slow, enduring nature must be why it's so expensive.
It is. That durability, that refusal to change and speed up is the biggest problem for anyone trying to grow it commercially.
Okay, so let's talk economics. In horticulture, everything is about efficiency, right? You breed plants to be fast-growing, easy to propagate.
Can get them to market in a few months.
Yeah. So MYR 160 suggests this plant just rejects all of that.
It completely rejects it. The price is almost entirely justified by one thing. It's exceptionally slow growth rate, and you can't negotiate with it. You're not buying a plant so much as you're buying time.
How slow are we talking? What do the notes say?
Well, to get that big cascading foliage you see in the expensive specimens, you're looking at several years of slow, dedicated cultivation, even in a perfect greenhouse.
Several years. That alone would make it a premium plant.
But it gets more extreme. In the wild, in its natural habitat, these plants can take up to 20 years just to reach reproductive maturity.
20
years. 20 years just to start producing spores. Think about that from a business perspective.
It's unbelievable. 20 years of greenhouse space, of water, of labor, all tied up in one product before you see a single dollar of profit.
It completely changes the economics. It's not about being inefficient. The time is a necessary ingredient.
Which raises a great question. Hasn't anyone tried to speed it up with, hybridization or hormones or something?
People have surely tried, but the fact that the price remains so high tells you that the plant resists. You can't force geological time on a production schedule.
So when you buy one, You are literally paying for 2 decades of a grower's patience and resources. The floor space alone must be a fortune.
It's the most expensive resource in a nursery. Most growers want a plant out the door in 3 to 6 months. This thing operates on an epical cycle.
That connection is just so powerful. It's selling time. Okay, but we have to get to the weirdest part of all, the upside-down part. Why, after all that time and care, is it grown coming out of the drainage hole?
This is where its ecology is just. It's everything. The reason is purely practical, and it comes down to one word: epiphyte.
Right, define that for us again. It's key to this whole mystery.
An epiphyte is a plant that grows on another plant, like a tree trunk, but only for physical support. It's not a parasite.
Like orchids.
Exactly like orchids or air plants. They don't draw nutrients from the tree. They just use it as a high-up place to live, a shelf, basically.
So it can get better light and air circulation.
Precisely. Now picture a dense tropical forest. These hanging club mosses, that's where they live. Their roots are just for anchoring, not for digging up into soil, so their stems naturally just dangle. They hang down from the tree branches, following gravity.
Ah. Okay, so the upside-down pot isn't some weird gimmick. The grower is just trying to replicate a tree branch.
That is the whole insight. They're mimicking its jungle habitat. The bit of soil in the pot is just there to anchor the roots and hold a little moisture.
But why come out of the bottom hole, specifically? Why not just plant it in a hanging basket and let it spill over the sides like a normal plant?
That is the critical point. It's all about drainage. If you plant an epiphyte like this the normal way, upright in a pot.
The crown of the plant sits in wet soil.
Yes, and that is a death sentence. It leads directly to root rot, which is the #1 killer of these kinds of plants.
I think every indoor gardener knows that pain.
We all do. The upside-down method solves that brilliantly. By having the plant emerge from the bottom, gravity pulls all the excess water away from the sensitive crown and roots immediately.
So it guarantees perfect drainage.
Perfect drainage and perfect aeration. It gets the air circulation it evolved to expect high up in the canopy.
So the plant is basically screaming its 400-million-year-old instructions at the grower. Its refusal to grow upright is its survival mechanism.
That's it, exactly. The growers aren't being weird, they are listening. You have this plant that has survived since the Paleozoic era, and to grow it, you have to completely concede to its ancient habits. You have to turn your world upside down for it.
So we started with this really simple, strange image. A plant growing out of a drain hole and a price tag of 160 ringgit.
And we ended up realizing it's a living fossil, a relic from before the dinosaurs, whose price is a direct reflection of the 2 decades of incredibly specialized care it needs.
Care that has to perfectly mimic its home in the jungle canopy.
Ah.
So what does this all mean then? For someone listening, what's the big takeaway?
Well, I think it raises a really important question about value. In our world, a world that is just optimized for speed and mass production, the hanging club moss is this beautiful reminder that sometimes premium value is defined by refusal.
The refusal to be rushed.
The refusal to be optimized. The refusal to compromise on its own ancient, deliberate pace. You're paying for that integrity.
It really is a literal case of paying for time and the history that time carries.
It is. And beyond the money, just think about the sheer persistence of this thing. A plant whose basic design works so well it survived, well, almost everything the planet could throw at it. It makes you wonder, what other living fossils are quietly thriving all around us?
In our parks or even our gardens.
Exactly. What else is out there just asking us to slow down, to look a bit closer, and just observe the sheer length of the evolutionary game that's unfolding, right in front of our eyes? If you can find something that demands patience, you've probably found something truly valuable.